None of us really know. None of us really know.
I know.
No, I know. Perfect timing, Keith.
Keith, what's up?
Your favorite movie of all time, F9.
Oh, good.
How is there any other choice than Remember the Titans being number one?
I'm curious.
I'm spoiling mine, but
Well, let's see. Here we go. Yeah, that's a good, good
I'm
question,
not even
Brian.
done talking.
you shouldn't be talking at this point.
What is up, fellow movie geeks? Welcome back to Apocaflix Movies and Apocaflix Now, as we are back for our movie hangout show here on Tuesday evening. And as you can see, we are starting the new tradition here on Now, like a host every week. It changes every single week, and this week is my week. And as you saw in the thumbnail, we're talking everything Shang-Chi tonight. Super excited, getting into some deep, heavy spoilers for this one. We'll be talking two things right off the bat quickly before we get to Shang-Chi. And unfortunately, because Gio's been working his absolute tail off, he will not be with us for Shang-Chi, but he'll be back later on to review it on his own, because I definitely want to hear this guy's thoughts. But I'm your host tonight, Jake Berlin. I got the whole crew here. Let's go around the table. Brian, how you doing, man?
Good. Today's been an interesting day, to say the least. Drove, well, I guess I don't even know how you would describe it. I hit reverse and bashed off my side rear view mirror.
Oh, wow.
Ripped it completely off.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was how I started the day.
Wait, are there poles like on the side of your parking spots at your
my
apartment?
parking spot is like that small.
That's how mine is too. I have to turn my mirrors in when I back out.
So I backed up too fast and just went.
Oh my goodness.
The whole entire thing. Then I had to hello there. And then I broke up a fight at school today with zero help.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There was apparently no one in the quad but me today, so that was quite interesting.
Man,
Two random kids
end up
that
like that teacher from Cobra Kai.
I was just sitting there like, no, stop.
Don't give him that credit, Gio.
I'll take any reference to being a part of Cobra Kai.
Mr. Barley, I know you're a little under the weather, but how you doing, dude?
Doing all right, man. You know, definitely watching Shang-Chi has kept my spirits high, but
Shang-Chi,
yes.
Not Sean.
Sean, yeah. Yeah, but other than that, I've been okay. Just trying to get over this cold, you know. I was supposed to start a new job today, and then because of the cold, I couldn't. And that's the thing. You have the sniffles, you can't start a new job. So now I got to wait for my start date. But
yeah, you could have helped me break up my fight today.
I probably would have, actually.
Yeah. Or I would have just pushed you into it.
Sounds like you, Brian. Sounds like
you.
And Gio Ramos, what's up, my dude?
Hey guys, happy to be here. You know, long work week. Tomorrow's my Friday. Okay, look, I wasn't planning on doing this, and I had no intention of bringing this up. But you can't make this stuff up. I went to Best Buy, and I know we're talking Shang-Chi and whatnot. But
this is a Marvel episode. This is a Marvel episode.
Look at that! Look at that! Oh my God, it's real, guys. It's real.
Wow.
It's not a pipe dream. It's fucking
I'm getting it
real.
on Black Friday with all
Look
of my
how beautiful that looks right there. Wow. That is gorgeous. I haven't bought physical media in a minute.
Do you have
I
a 4K
absolutely
player?
had to for this. This is a triumph. This is a feat. It is a landmark. It is unprecedented. Go get your copy. Go get your copy and show Warner Brothers what's up.
His 4K player is my PlayStation. PlayStation 4.
Oh,
hey, are we getting paid for that plug, Jake? I hope we're getting paid for that.
Apparently,
by Warner Brothers.
Yeah. But I'm gonna take my. I'm just gonna randomly take my PlayStation 4 back now, so we can't actually play that.
That'd be so mean. Gio,
I will say, so just quickly before we do get going, I will say, and we talked about Snyder Cut obviously for a long time, and I said that I enjoyed the movie, but I think that poster specifically does the movie disservice. That's probably my least favorite poster for that movie. I think they made a rough call on the poster choice for that one because there were some really, really good stylistic posters for that. And for a 4K one, I expected something a little bit better.
Hey, there were some like amazing fan art out there, but this is probably, Warner Brothers probably had a say in this and was like, no, we're gonna go with this. And
yeah, they might have had some kind of deal with like some kind of artist, like you said, fan art or something. I don't know if that's a Boss Logic or not. I'm not sure. I know Boss Logic does a lot of stuff these days, but that's neither here nor there. All right, everybody,
hold on,
we're gonna get.
Continue to keep sending. I don't know if you send it to them, but Gio sends me paraphernalia he finds at work while searching rooms.
Oh, I get it too. Yeah,
it cracks me up.
You won't believe what I find in a hotel room, bro. When people check out,
I don't want to know. Like, I don't want to know.
Okay, I do though. So
I'm going to reserve myself from this conversation. We're going to get back on track though. The way that we start the show every single week is we have a little segment here called the Movie Watching Challenge. And what this challenge is we challenge each other to watch films that we have never seen before. It's very self-explanatory. This last week was the final time of our old school way, our new but old way. Going forward, there will be no polls. We'll be doing direct challenges from here on out. But before we get to that, Mr. Bartley was challenged to watch a film called Ready or Not. That won the final poll that we ever had for this segment on the show, and it won it by 2% over Demolition Man.
I saw that. It wasn't that close at first.
No, Demolition Man made a very, very late charge, but it did. Too little, too late. But I think Ready or Not was definitely a perfect choice for Jacob. So with all that said, Jacob, take it away, man. What did you think of the Samara Weaving-led Ready or Not?
Ready or Not. So, you know what this movie reminds me of a lot is You're Next. And Jake, you also challenged me to that. They're very similar, but also very different. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. This is one that I don't know how I missed it, right? It came out, and then people were buzzing about it. People were like, oh my goodness, that little horror movie, that's pretty damn good. And I really like Samara Weaving. I've seen her in a few things here or there. Like, I've seen like The Babysitter on Netflix, and those movies are terrible, but she's good in them, which she's actually a killer in those movies. So it's weird watching her in this role. But
she's in Snake Eyes too. She plays Scarlet.
I haven't seen that yet, but I do want to see her in that.
And she plays Alex Winter's daughter in Bill and Ted 3.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, I've liked her in everything I've seen her in, so I was excited to see her star in this. And then I actually am a big fan of Adam Brody, which underrated little side act. He was on the OC. That's why I first got introduced to him.
Same.
But I've kind of followed his career since then, and I love when he pops up in little things here and there.
Shazam.
Yeah, Shazam as well. Yeah. And I'll tell you what. I'll start there. Look, Samara. We don't really know. I don't know any of the other actors, honestly, other than Samara Weaving and Adam Brody. I think they went very low budget here. And I just thought the whole cast did a pretty good job of playing these roles. But also, it's a different kind of horror movie where it's more of thriller. It's not necessarily jump scares. It's more of just like intensity.
It's like a Don't Breathe.
Yeah, it's more intensity and violence. Very Your Next-ish. And I liked it a lot. But what I appreciated is like in Your Next, the main character, the girl, she's doing a very specific thing because she has a background and she handles it. This one's not like that. I thought they were going to kind of copycat that, and they didn't. She was just a normal girl who fell into this situation, and she just had to survive. And I loved those elements where, like, she's not a trained fighter or nothing like that. She just had to survive, and she
sometimes the deaths and stuff are like accidental.
Yeah, exactly.
Like not that she has any, like, something just happens and she's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say there's a moment where like she's fighting this guy off and then she finally gets away. But in these horror movies, always kill them. Don't leave them alive. You have to kill them or they're going to always come back and get you. Like, But overall, I really liked it. One of the most interesting things to me was like this sort of mythology they set up in a way with the family. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hold on a second. Like, it was gearing towards it's not real. Like,
it very well could.
You don't know that.
Yeah, well, in the movie is what I'm saying is like it was gearing towards in the movie, like, oh, it was fake. Like whatever they thought was going to happen that was causing them to do the ritual to try to kill her wasn't real. And they play with you on that. And you think it's not real. And you're like, oh, so it's kind of weird because I wasn't really scared until the end. Like I was like, oh, wow. Because it seemed just like a psychotic family. But then the ending happens. You're like, oh, that's kind of creepy. So overall, really enjoyed it. Samara Weaving is a boss. I can't wait to see her in like future stuff. I mean, obviously getting in the Snake Eyes movie was a big role for her, but I think she is going to do bigger things from here on out.
Jacob, I got to ask, what did you think, without spoilers, because I don't want to ruin it for anybody who maybe.
Yeah, I was trying not to spoil it.
Well, just in the best non-spoiler way you can, what did you think of the ending?
So, like the reveal, or just everything that happened?
Like the reasoning behind everything.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. It was interesting. It was kind of unique in a way, but like I didn't expect. I thought this was more of like these people believe in this stuff, and that's causing them to do this. And I didn't think there were any, supernatural elements to this movie at all. I thought that it was going to go the other way. Yeah, exactly. So, it was pretty bonkers, to be honest.
That is the perfect word for it. It is an absolute bonkers way to end the movie.
Yeah, it's no Cabin in the Woods ending, but it's kind of like that, where it
goes in that direction. It definitely goes in that direction.
Like, what the heck happened? It's kind of like that, but on a smaller scale. So,
100%.
I enjoyed it. That's
good to hear. I'm glad you liked it. So,
did you? I won't say it, but. Did you scream like I did at the part when she's trying to get out of the pen?
Oh my god!
Oh, which part?
Oh my god!
Oh yeah. The fence?
No, when she's trying to get out of the pen.
Oh yeah,
in the barn, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness!
I screamed.
Yes. I can't believe they.
I saw this movie in theaters, and it was a damn good time in the theater.
No, now I know what you're talking about. Left hand, right? Left hand. Yeah, that's dude. I was like, and that was like halfway through the movie. I was like, I would have just given up right there. I'd been like, I'm done. So good on her. Good on her character.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Glad you liked it. It's definitely a Jacob movie, so I'm glad it won the poll. I would have been very happy if Demolition Man would have won. Geo Taco Bell. That's all I needed to say. But I'm glad that Ready or Not won, and I'm sure Demolition Man will come back up here around sometime. But the second part of this segment on the show is the first time we're doing this again. It's a direct challenge, and before we used to just pick someone, and the four of us who were not challenged would put a movie to a poll or a number. This time, that person who was challenged the previous week will now be picking a movie for that person to watch. So for Gio and myself this week, and Keith, we have no say. It is all up to Jacob who he challenges, what movie he's challenging him to. And so with that, Jacob, who are you challenging? And what are you challenging them to?
I just want to say real quick, and look, we didn't want to take away the poll, but we just thought it would work better this way. But again, we have the casting table poll going, that'll go up soon. But I love that we're going back to this because it makes it more personal. It's like, ooh, I want him to watch that movie. And it just feels very more personal, right? And I saw one on everybody's list and I was like, oh my goodness, I got to challenge that to them right now. But there were a few, I wasn't able to challenge Gio because he challenged me. And I wasn't able to challenge Jake because it was his movie. So going forward, we won't be able to challenge the last two people.
You'll have an option between the two people who is not the challengee or the challenger and the person of the movie. Well, we'll have to change it now because my movie was the poll. And the polls are no longer.
It'll just be the challenger.
Yeah, it'll just be the challenger.
It'll be the last two challengers can't be challenged, basically. Yeah. So that being said, I was very delighted to see a certain movie on Brian's list. Brian Avalosino, I'm coming after you, man. You, this week, are going to be watching David Fincher's Gone Girl. I cannot believe you haven't seen this.
You want to know what's funny? Is I own the book and I've had the book for since before this movie came out and I've never read it.
I've been wanting to do the audiobook for Gone Girl because I love the movie so much. But Jake and Gio.
Rosamund Pike was shafted. She should have won the Oscar.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Jake and Gio know how much I love this movie. Like
it made my top 10 that year. It made my top. It came out in 2014, a year of like.
It was a crazy year.
Winter Soldier, Dawn of Planet of the Apes, Birdman, Snowpiercer, Whiplash,
and it was my number one.
Edge of Tomorrow. Like it came out with these bonkers movies, and it was arguably one of the best movies.
That might be the best year of the 2010s, to be honest.
It might be one of the best years we've seen in a very
movies go, but that was my number one movie that year over Guardians, over Winter Soldier, and I'm a big David Fincher fan, but I love Ben Affleck, so there you go, Brian. Gone Girl. I can't wait.
This is definitely a Brian type movie. It's a mystery movie, and it's right up Brian's alley.
My favorite types of movies are the ones where I'm sitting there trying to figure it out the whole entire movie.
Oh, you're knowing from the get go. You're knowing from the get-go.
Basically what this is. The whole movie.
It's wild. It's incredible.
I am so excited. I know. We should like put our list up because it's like everyone's everyone's just has like okay.
That's a good idea.
And then you see mine and it's just like scroll.
Well, I opened the sheet earlier and it's like everyone has almost the same amount, and then like a couple hours later I open it and Brian has like 90 movies listed. I'm like,
he
what
has
happened?
exactly 100 movies on his list.
So because he was like, I said something to him. He's like, yeah, you never gave me your list. And I was like, all right, fine. I'm going to do it right now. And I went through the top 100 2010s movies. And that one was on the list. So it wasn't there before you looked the second time.
No, and I was so happy to see that because like our previous list, it didn't have everything, you know, like, and I'm glad we kind of made these new lists and I know for sure they're not like, wait, did he see it or not? Because
they're movies.
Committed the movies, yeah.
And when I told Brian when he made the list, I said you need to make a list of movies that you want to see. It's not what other people want you to see. That way we know, okay, this guy really wants to see this. He just hasn't seen it. Gone Girl being one of them.
And it works for both. Like, look how excited I am to challenge him, and now he's excited to watch it rather than like he gets some random movie that he doesn't even want to see. You know?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I mean, I honestly have so many movies that I haven't seen that I like am down to watch. So like, there are movies that I'm just like, okay, but there could be like staples and people like E.T. I'd be totally fine never watching it. Like, I'm like, okay, but I have it on my list because I know how much it means to other people too. So it's like,
it's fair.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, there it is. Brian will be reviewing Gone Girl next week, and he will be challenging someone else that is not Jacob. And so you'll find out on next week's show what his thoughts are on Gone Girl. With that said, let's go and get into the quick next portion of the show. Quick little plug here for Thursday. Thursday is a very, very special day, and if you paid attention to the Movieverse today, not only were there a buttload of trailers released, but there was one specific tease released in the Matrix Resurrections. Matrix Resurrections is officially headed our way, and it was announced today that we're getting our first official trailer on Thursday. That'll be released at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are Pacific Standard Time, and so on Thursday, you'll see a trailer reaction for myself and Gio. We'll be getting up bright and early before we head to the work, and doing a reaction as we see Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, and company return to the world of the Matrix. And that'll be up on Thursday morning. Gio, any thoughts before we check out this trailer on Thursday?
Two thoughts. One, I've been so curious about this movie and why we haven't seen any marketing. I think they were waiting to see how Shang-Chi did, and that gave them the confidence. Boom.
I think a lot of people were.
Do it.
Yeah. Did you see Venom? All of a sudden, Venom's like, oh, no, we're going to put it back in.
Yeah.
Did they really?
So they moved it up 2 weeks.
First.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Jake, like you, I want to see what they bring to the table almost 20 years later. Since
2003,
the first one,
2004?
The first one came out in 99, right?
I think because the second two, didn't they come out in the same year?
I think it was 2003.
They came out 6 months apart.
Yeah, they came out in the same year, so it must have been 03. I think it was 03.
2003 was Matrix 3.
Yeah.
So they came out in the same year, which is just
That's crazy.
So dumb.
You think so?
I don't want to get in that conversation, but that was a dumb move.
Okay.
Dude,
Well,
The
I'm
Matrix
sure
is
we'll
almost
revisit the
20
trilogy
years.
between now and Resurrections.
Oh
So
yeah,
we'll-
absolutely. Well, because I know Keith's very excited as well. I'm a big Matrix person. The first one is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing John Wick in the Matrix.
Yeah.
'Cause literally that's what he looks like. But that's fine. I
Literally,
don't
yeah.
care. I don't care. But yeah, no, it's gonna be exciting. So Thursday, bright and early, probably a little after 6. We'll record it at 6. It'll be up probably within the hour. You can check it out. We'll have a reaction from the Matrix Resurrections from Gio and I. So check that out, everybody.
Excited.
Hell yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Finish the trilogy. That way I can watch it.
Yeah, that's a perfect time to finish it. All right, Gio. Well, we're gonna let you go, bud, because we want to get into some Shang-Chi stuff. Go check out the movie. I know you're working hard, but go check out the movie, my dude, and we'll catch you back there this week. All right?
God, Gio, it's right up your alley. I can't wait to hear you talk.
Go
about
watch it. Go watch it.
All right, guys. Sounds good.
Later, man.
Later, man.
All right, boys. Let's get into it. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the brand new Marvel movie inside the MCU with the first ever appearance of this character. And look, I could go into backstory about it and everything, but I think the best thing to do is kind of just get right into it because there's quite a bit to talk about with this one. There's a lot of stuff to kind of dive into, not just the movie itself, but its connection overall, how it ties into future properties in the MCU, and obviously stuff like that post-credit scene and all that type of stuff. So I want to go around the table and kind of get everyone's initial thoughts, reactions before we kind of dive into some specifics. Jacob, I'm going to start with you, my man. What was like your initial reaction? Because we all saw it together. The three of us saw it together. What was your initial reaction walking out of the theater after seeing Shang-Chi?
Well, I had to run to the bathroom really quick, as you guys saw. But after that,
We all did.
after that, I was like, I don't know. I was cheesing. I was hyped. I was, look, I told this to Gio, and I think it helps explain it. After I saw The Suicide Squad and after I saw Black Widow, I was like, oh, I really liked it, but there's things I didn't like. When I came out of this, I was like, absolutely loved it. And I was like, I can barely think of anything I didn't like. So it's rare for me to come out of a movie and know right away whether I like am way over here as far as loving it or way over here as far as hating it. And I was way over here as far as loving it. So that was my first reaction.
Brian, your initial quick thoughts walking out of that theater?
I need to go see this again.
That's a good one.
It's fair.
Yeah, I was halfway through this movie going, I want to see this movie again, and I can't remember the last time I was thinking something like that. And I'm going to be completely honest. I think I was before Black Widow was starting to hit a bit of superhero fatigue. Like I was kind of like,
There's no such thing.
I know. I don't know. I just kind of was just like, okay, got Black Widow. It was good. Suicide Squad. It was good. This movie put me right back on track.
You want to know why? Because it was something we've never seen before.
Yeah, it was just freaking.
It felt very fresh. to
Yes.
me. Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we talked like a great example would be going back to when Guardians came out. We have never seen something like Guardians when they came out. And now there's properties like that all over the place, a la the Suicide Squad, right? Like they're making movies because of the success of that. Shang-Chi is a perfect example. Like we've seen martial arts in movies before. We've even seen martial arts superhero movies, if you will. But we've never seen a Marvel martial arts film. And I know that there's some of those things inside other Marvel movies. Like I know Blade deals with a lot of that stuff. Like there's some martial arts inside those movies. But we've never seen a movie in the MCU or even like really Marvel in general that is directly dedicated to the culture of Chinese mythology and martial arts, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first of its kind. And we've seen Marvel do this before, and they've done it not just with Guardians, but other properties in the past. And, anything from a whole thing like this, or just putting a genre inside of a genre, they really tend to create new things for audiences every so often that keep them wanting to come back. And they do it every few years, and it's just like Brian, like I'm sure there's a lot of people who felt like Brian. Like so much superhero stuff. But then we get something weird and wacky like WandaVision. We get something like Shang-Chi. In the past, like I mentioned, we got something like Guardians, and this might have been my favorite like new thing we've ever gotten in the universe, because you guys know how I feel about martial arts films. I really love them. I enjoy them. There's a lot of them now that I really, really love. But I also think that the movie in general was written incredibly well and just executed to the top tier level that it could possibly be executed to. But yeah, my initial thoughts was like, wow, that's some of Marvel's best stuff. Like that's top tier Marvel. Like that's what Marvel does best. And I rarely say that about a lot of Marvel movies. Like sometimes I have to sit back and relax a little bit and like think about it. Or others like I like it, but I'm wondering where it fits in my MCU ranking because there's so many of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this was the 28th overall MCU property, including the shows, and I think it's in my top 10. Like,
I don't disagree.
it jumped over 18 properties in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and it's not easy to get in the top 10 of MCU these days. It's not easy.
No, not at all. All right, real quick, Brian, before we get going, I want to read the super chat. Thank you for the reminder. Johnny Quest won't be able to tune in, but for me, this was the 4th best MCU movie in my opinion. Winter Soldier, Infinity War, First Avengers topped this. Still amazing. Henry Golding needs to be the bad guy for the sequel. Ooh, that would be dope. That'd be dope.
Cool, yeah.
Hold out for him because he could possibly be Namor. You never know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that guy might.
No, I know. He's probably not going to be Namor, but you never know. All right, let's get into some specifics here. What is one thing that we really want to kind of dive into to begin with? Anybody want to start us off?
I don't have it. Well, before we do that, I just wanted to say, so far, I think some of Marvel's most intriguing and best movies so far have been the ones that are like different than the standard. Like Black Panther. You have an almost all black cast telling a story that is 95% in Africa, in this country. And then you have Shang-Chi, which is what, 95% Asian cast.
I'd probably say more than that. Well, if you exclude like
Razor Fist.
Yeah, but if you and then
Trevor Flattery,
yeah, that's out of all that's probably like a good 98.
Yeah, and I mean,
my math. Terrible, but.
Black Panther, they did a lot of like music that was perfectly geared towards this like African Black Panther type thing, and then you have Shang-Chi, which had its elements like that too. Those have been like the best things so far because it's going below the surface of just a superhero movie, and you can tell when you're watching this. Okay, so this might be my one. This might be a one thing because I'm just sitting there like eating it all up, like every single bit of it. I am no way a martial arts like guru or person. I appreciate it. It's great for its genre. But I mean, like for me, my martial arts movie knowledge is like Jackie Chan. Like it's minimal, and I can admit that. But sitting there watching that, I was like, whoa. Like, I bet you there's a lot of movies that are just as good, probably better than this.
The rate.
The rate. Sure, I know. That's what everyone keeps saying. But I love it. When Marvel does these, like, full-blown culture-type movies, like, it's more than just a superhero movie. You're getting to, like, learn so much more about like the culture of these types of movies and stuff like that.
Well, we talked about it, I think, while we were outside the theater afterwards. I think all of us said, including the group that we were with, that we never once, as soon as like the movie started, it never felt like we were watching a superhero movie.
No, I forgot I was watching a Marvel movie.
It felt like we were watching a martial arts film about a kid who grew up in this extremely hard family. His dad was a supervillain, and they planted an MCU property over the top of it.
Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like. I lost myself in the mythology, in the characters, the way the story was told about the back and forth going on through the entire time. I love the way that it was all crafted, how we got flashbacks throughout the whole film. I think it was so brilliantly just put together as far as like the past, present, and future stuff that was going on, and how it started with the father, then it went to the son, and then the sister weaved herself into it, and then it ended with the mother, even though she was the one who died. Her story like almost ended the film in a way, and it was like very well done in craftsmanship. You don't see that with a lot of movies. Like Black Panther, for example, was a very similar thing, right? Like there were flashbacks in it, but it started with the flashbacks, and then we kind of got one or two of them maybe throughout the movie, then one towards the end. This one, it was all throughout the movie, and it continuously kept you engaged because you were meeting and understanding characters throughout the entire thing. It wasn't like you would meet a character and then you would know that character right away. Yeah. Like his father, for example, we met him, we thought we knew him, but then that dinner scene completely flipped everything on its head. And then later on, it flipped back around. And everything kept twisting and turning as the story unfolded.
Yeah, the story just unfolded so well. Like you never felt lost. Like, okay, wait, what? Someone who has mystical or whatever. It just kept unraveling until you get to the end, and then it's just like, voila. It's like you said, it never. Multiple times, I was just sitting there going, "Oh crap, this is a Marvel movie. Like, this is a superhero movie." It just felt like an action movie. It was awesome. The fight scenes. Oh, I'll leave that for someone else.
Yeah, you guys brought up a lot, but I think Brian was kind of gearing towards like I don't know if it's only Chinese mythology or Chinese culture that was influencing this. I mean, obviously the main characters that we're following were Chinese, so we can stick with that. But I don't know much about it, so I don't want to, go out of my boundaries. But the way they go to that, what's the name of the town? Talo is the name. It's like they call it a dimension, basically.
Talo. Yeah.
Like another dimension that you can get to on Earth.
Yeah, where Kong and Godzilla go.
It felt very similar to like Wakanda, right? Like it was a hidden city.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, and it seemed much smaller though. Like they were just in that one part.
It was like it was a village, I think.
It almost felt like an island, like a little island.
I think the aunt said when it used to be much bigger and they had cities and stuff, but it was destroyed when the
first
Soul Suckers, the first time the Soul Suckers came out, and that was like what was left. But I loved that stuff. It was very very unique, and it made it something that like steps outside of the MCU, because like Brian was saying, it's showing us new stuff we've never seen before and teaching audience members like us about this culture, right? So like, for example, when we watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? Like we're familiar with everything that's going on. We know super soldiers, we know Cap, we know, even though we're meeting new characters, we know everything that's going on, right? But then when we go into a movie like this, we're learning stuff, and it's just really cool, and I really liked that. But I don't want to take this away from you, Jake, but the martial arts, the action.
No, let's get into it.
Amazing.
Let's get into it.
That bus scene is like, I can't think of there's a few in some of the John Wick movies, maybe the Mission Impossible bathroom scene, but I can't think of a better action scene that I like more in like the last 5 to 8 years.
So
it's
a biased opinion on me. It's just a biased opinion on me, but the Cap versus Winter Soldier street fight in the Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, that's great.
It's still to me the best fight hand-to-hand moment we ever have in the MCU. Mm-hmm. The fact that, and I get it. They do a lot of crap in this movie. Like it's
different,
Like we saw, like there was behind the scenes footage of seeing Simu Liu like jump over the bus, hang on the mirror, and fly back. Like he actually did that stuff, people. Like it's legit.
God, he is so good at it.
But it's the fight scenes, and Brian mentioned it earlier, but everything was hyped up more in expanded because of the music that was happening as well.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, absolutely.
a lot of people, when you don't know John Pedro, yes, the elevator scene is definitely up there. I was going to mention that, but I don't want to go too biased in the Winter Soldier. Yes, you are correct. A lot of people who are not familiar with martial arts films and may not see them as much, you have to understand that it's not just about the fighting. Like yes, there's some films that focus with no music, it's just you hear them fighting. But a lot of the time, specifically with like the Raid movies or even John Wick, what John Wick really brings in those martial arts, the music plays a very important role in seeing those moments go down.
That's very true.
And in this bus scene, it was the first time in the movie, like we got some music at the beginning, like when his parents were fighting, which is the cinematography was incredible in that sequence. Like the way his mom fought, I was like, my jaw was on the floor.
Well, even the very first scene when he takes on those soldiers.
Yeah,
when you first see
exactly.
him,
But there's something truly magical about the way that she moved and the way that her powers work. But going back to the bus scene, like the music played such an important role in that moment. And that was the first time we really heard like the legit score kick in. And we obviously saw him for the first time really embrace who he was and what he had been in the past. But that was like the moment in the movie they're showing you like, okay, you've seen fights in the movie so far. You saw the 10 rings being used. You saw some mystical powers being used. Here's what happens when you don't have that. Here's what you're in for the rest of the film. Because what we know of up until the end of the film, Shang-Chi himself doesn't have any mystical abilities until he goes to Tao Lao. He's a point-blank fighter, fist-to-fist, hand-to-hand combat guy. That's what he is. And they have to make sure you believe that this guy is capable of doing that. And you got the perfect guy to do that. The perfect guy to is it Simu? Simu, right?
I think it's Simu Liu, yeah.
Simu Liu is going to be an effing superstar. He is going to book so many movies and roles because of this role. What he was able to do as not just like a charismatic presence in the film, but that fighting style. He brought the likes of the Jackie Chans and the Bruce Lees back into the fold and really like embraced this old school martial arts style, but combined it with the superhero MCU vibe. Like it felt extremely cinematic, but also very grounded and small scale at the same time. And I was like my jaw was on the floor. I was like marveling over what was happening. Sorry, I had to say
it. You instantly like fell in love with him. Like you immediately, like even when he wasn't like saying things, just his like reactions, like when Aquafina was like, "Where's your shirt?" He's just like his reaction. You're just like laughing at him, and just like it was just he. I don't have anything. I mean, I know Marvel pretty well. I would like to think better than the average person. But Shang-Chi is not a...
He's a D-list superhero.
I would say C. But, like, because he pops up, but he is...
Remember, Iron Man was considered a B-list superhero when he started the MCU.
Yeah. But, he, like, I found myself, like, going, like, because of how he was, I was like, I kind of want to read some Shang-Chi comics. Like, he was really good. Like, I cannot see anyone else playing this character. Anyone.
No, he took the character and he made it his own. Like, it's him. And they need to make him the future of the MCU. This dude needs to be in the forefront.
Absolutely.
And if the movie is anything telling, he's clearly going to be in the forefront after the ending of the film. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say one thing Marvel has perfected is their castings. When they cast someone, especially their leads, if it's someone like Captain America, Iron Man,
Captain Marvel,
Shang-Chi, they have perfected the person to play that character. We have never even, other than Kim's Convenience. No one's heard of this guy. People when he got cast went, what? Why? Like, why are we doing this movie? Why are we doing this random character? And now he's like going to be synonymous with the levels of like probably Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk. And it's credit to him, because if he did a crappy job, this movie would not be a success. It broke so many records.
Well, it broke the Labor Day. Broke the Labor Day weekend record.
Yeah, the thing almost made $100 million
during a pandemic.
Pandemic in a weekend, like to the point where other studios were like, "Okay, let's put our movies back out." And it credit goes to him, because he nailed this movie as this character. I went out and bought the freaking Funko the next day. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing that I appreciated about it was we get the beginning of the movie. We get introduced to his father and all this stuff, some of the mythology.
Wenwu.
Yeah, Wenwu. But when it cuts to like...
Love that they didn't use Mandarin at all. That was not a thing. He's like, you named me after chicken?
Yeah. When we get introduced to Shang-Chi, like in modern day, when he wakes up in his apartment and then they do that trick where you think he's driving to work, but he really works there. Yeah. And that was pretty funny. To me, it felt one of the most like grounded, real human characters before they go off onto this crazy journey. And credit to Simu Liu and Awkwafina for creating that, because they made you feel like, hey, they're just these, I don't know how old they're supposed to be, late 20s people. They live in San Francisco. They're just trying to live their life, live a normal life, going out to bars, going to work, hanging out. And then even though he has this background that he's keeping hidden from everybody, they get thrust into this bigger journey. And the setup to like him and his friendship with Katie and just their personalities was so good. Because if you just jump into it and he's already dealing with this, if you didn't get to know him first as like a regular guy, I don't think we care about him as much going forward. And I love the setup in San Francisco before they, fly to go find his sister. And it
was clever.
Thought that was great. Yeah.
It was very, to what Jacob's saying, it was very clever for him. Okay, you got 10 years in America. Like, do what you want, and then you're back at my side.
I was wondering, so has he been training in private this whole time? Because there's no way he just stopped fighting for 10 years.
I think maybe, but we saw what happened to him when he was a kid. He was like,
I'm sure he just works out.
He was beaten into the ground with it, and that's all he had to do for.
He said from sun up to sundown, I was taught every way to kill a man.
His father literally made him punch a wooden pole until his hands were bleeding. Like, it was. I don't think it's like riding a bike, right? Like, once you do it, like, and if you're gone for 10 years, especially with something like that, you don't lose that. It's not something that you
either way, even if he was training at night or not, it still worked for me. And I loved when she's like, "You got the wrong guy. Does he look like he knows how to fight?" And then he just busts out.
Real quick before we move on, I want to make sure I bring it up, and because it was commented a little bit. Can we give a big shout out for Cliff? Cliff on the bus.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's
that
up,
was hilarious.
Cliff? You're about to see this guy get his butt kicked in.
We all know that was the guy from Spider-Man, right?
Yes, and a lot of people online are saying that obviously he's not going to live up to the name, but they're hoping that he becomes like the new Stan Lee, where he appears in everything.
Is that the dude that's like, "Hey, Spider-Man, can I get a back?"
He's the hot dog stand.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah.
I know that was him.
That's him. Same guy.
Wait, what? This guy travels. What? He was in New York and then in San Francisco.
I know.
He was on vacation.
It was a long time ago. Since then, that's fair.
He's on vacation.
Interesting. That'd be kind of cool though. He just randomly around.
I died when he goes, "Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Cliff." I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, are you serious?
Well, because it's perfect because people are gonna do some stupid. It's like when Flash did it in Spider-Man. What's up, Flash Mob? You're just like, oh my god, because people would do these types of things.
100%.
So,
100%. All right, question real quick from John Pedro here.
Beautiful question, John.
Did this movie redeem Iron Man 3 at all?
Yes,
because it is a very heavy connection.
A little bit.
Yeah, I would say a little bit. It didn't like make it a better movie, but it made me feel better about that situation.
Yeah, I think they rounded out the story. They obviously put a backstory as to why Trevor Slattery did what he did. Also, what those that he was impersonating thought. Again, that dinner scene, we talked about it, right? He called himself the Mandarin, and he scared the U.S.
Yeah.
And he named himself after a chicken bowl, and like that was great. Like that was a great playoff and a great way to do it. But like Jacob said, I don't think it redeems the movie, but I think it redeemed it enough to be like, okay, we watched that back, knowing what happens. I think we're okay with it.
It's not so much like, I mean, a lot of the biggest gripe coming out of that movie was like that it wasn't the Mandarin, like that was like that. Well, now it kind of like scrubs that clean a little bit, like polishes that a little bit. It kind of we afterwards were like, Feige just said that like those things to just kind of like make themselves get okay with it. Maybe they did, but this made it clean. Like it made it have an actual purpose other than like, all right, we need to just kind of like cover our butts. And
if anything, for me, it helped the MCU overall more than it helped Iron Man 3 specifically. You know,
makes sense. Also, real quick, Rachel, that's fair. Did you see the Extremis cameo in the film?
Yeah.
Jacob, did you catch this?
No, I didn't.
So there was an Extremis fighter going into the fighting ring that his sister was in control of in one of the cages.
Yeah.
You know who else was in there? Was one of the Black Widows.
That's who he was fighting.
That's who she was fighting.
Who he was fighting?
Yeah.
Oh,
she was fighting an Extremis agent.
This is crazy. I mean, usually before we do the spoiler reviews, I see the movie twice. I've only seen it once, but I'm dying to get back to see it.
How about the sumo wrestler?
Yeah.
Just slamming the people up against the window.
That was crazy. All these little side fights going on.
What up, Pardis?
I
I know Pardis had it ranked super, super high. I think he had it like number 5 or something in his MCU too.
It's fantastic.
I still don't know where to rank it.
I need to. I'm going to see it one more time.
Yeah.
I know for a fact it's in my top 10.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll rank it at a later date as far as MCU rankings or something like that. But I think we do need to talk about like kind of the ending of this movie because and we can jump back after this and talk about some stuff, but I want to make sure we get to the ending because the ending and the post-credit scene is extremely important, extremely important going forward. So let's start with the ending of the film and everything that happened in Ta Lao, like with the Great Protector and the Soul Eaters and the mythology around everything. Michelle Yeoh and her character.
All these actors were perfect.
Yeah, and I don't know about and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, but I think it was like the perfect way to end the film. Like it was such, good. And it's interesting. I've done a lot of research on what people have been thinking about this movie because it's such an obscure project, right? A lot of people didn't know what it was and if they were going to like it or not. And I've seen a lot of people talking about the third act in general about how it went from a martial arts film to a super spiritual CGI movie towards the end of the movie. First of all, that's kind of the MCU's bread and butter, right? With a lot of stuff. Second of all, that was the mythology of everything.
Yeah.
There's no argument there because it was the mythology of Shang-Chi. It was the mythology of his mother. It was the mythology of his father and everything that they were dealing with through the entire film. So for me, it was the perfect climactic battle because it all made sense.
Well, the movie starts with a CGI action scene. So, just saying.
So, I was one of these people originally walking out. Because I was kind of like, oh man, like, I just wanted to see him fight Wenwu. Like, and that would have been like all I needed. But the more I sat on it, the more it made sense. Because they are in this mystical, magical place. Like, and Wenwu thought he was doing. That's great, Pardis. I don't blame you. Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people.
Yeah. The more I sat with it, like it makes sense because why would they need to go to this mystical, magical place if there weren't things that are like mystical, magical there.
Well,
Like,
and
I mean,
also, oh, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
no, and I was just gonna say, like, it kind of made sense the more I sat on it, like, especially with like the Great Protector and stuff like that. And I think the more that I sat with the fact that it really came down to Wenwu being tricked into believing this creature. He thought he was doing the right thing.
I was just going to say that he was that type of villain. Thank you.
Yeah. He truly thought he was doing the right thing.
Well, he was trying to save his wife. And
Yes.
he truly believed it until that last moment.
Exactly.
And Soul Sucker came out.
Yeah. And so, like,
which was terrifying, by the way.
The more I sat on it, it kind of was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, this whole movie is kind of about family. And
absolutely.
And this guy thought he was doing the right thing to redeem and save his family. This bad guy that did horrible things thought he was ultimately doing the right thing to save his family, but was tricked. And then it unleashed this great evil. So, like, the more I kind of like sat with it and realized it, it was kind of just like, okay, I actually understand it. It makes sense. And John,
and they set it up too.
And John, you're not right. It was.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. It was definitely selfish. Like, he was definitely doing it. Probably about 90% of it for himself. But there were at times where he was saying, like, "Don't you want like our family to be together again?" and stuff like that. But yeah, he was probably mostly doing it for himself.
Yeah, it was definitely a selfish move, but at the same time, it was a like, look, I hope to never go through what he was going through, but if your wife is literally speaking to you, and you don't know the history or of what is called a soul sucker, like, of course you're gonna believe, like, yeah, dude, like, your mom is calling me, like, why are you fighting me on this, you know? And I get it, it was the selfish thing, it was the wrong thing, but at the same time, in his mindset, put yourself in his shoes a little bit. And look, the dude's still a terrible dude. He's a villain. Like, I get it. But like, it's hard to see someone not going with what he did because of what he didn't know. Like, he was never allowed in Ta Lao. And they mentioned it because he just wasn't good enough. He was not a good enough a person to be allowed there. And there's a reason for that.
Beginning.
Well, yes.
The beginning, too. It wasn't like, no, you're trying to, like, free these things from the beginning. Like,
because they knew how bad, because he was a bad guy before he met her.
Yeah, he was a conqueror. He was a conqueror, is what he was throughout thousands of years. He was a conqueror. He tried to conquer every land known to man on Earth.
Yeah, and Pardis, he might be one of the best.
I've already seen a lot of people saying he's one of the best.
He really is
there.
Just because of there. Like.
Aha!
But I mean, the best villains are the ones you can kind of like not put in your shoes.
You can sympathize with.
You can somewhat sympathize with. Like, he was trying to save his wife, whom he loved. Killmonger was someone that felt abandoned and.
Like, it was his birthright.
Well, like, we can't identify with Malekith, right? Like, we, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
by the way, that movie was on TV the other day. Why the hell are they still playing that on TV? Like,
all right, we got to talk about Xiaoling.
I was just gonna say, yes,
you guys loved Simu. I forget the actress's name. I think this is her only role ever, but she's one of my favorite characters.
I'm not gonna butcher her name, but she's great. She was probably my favorite part of the movie, to be honest.
She's one of my. I love sibling relationships in movies, even though I don't have a sister. They like brother, sister. I just understand because he goes through anything to save her, even though he kind of abandoned her in the beginning. But we talked about this outside of the theater. But when we thought she was going to die.
Oh, and Brian can attest to the way I reacted to that scene. I was flipping out
because look, we've become desensitized to those type of scenes, right? In movies, a lot of them are predictable. And I thought she was going to die. I was like,
100%. 100%.
No, you cannot kill her.
I was going to lose it if she was killed off.
Yeah, I would, because look, he just lost his dad. I was like, there's no way. You cannot kill his sister too.
And his mom's already dead too. So it's like
the thinking about it, the way they connect it to the story, how he abandoned her at the beginning of their lives when they were teenagers, or when he was a teenager, she was a little girl, and how he's like, no, I'm never letting you go again. He pulls her up, like, it makes me want to cry every time I think about it.
Yeah,
that
she's also
is amazing.
She's also an extreme badass in the way that she fights.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
She is capable of so much, and like we found out through the entire film. And she said it. She said, I wasn't allowed to train with the boys, so I trained myself to be better. And she is better. She is. If she was given the rings, Shang-Chi's got no chance.
I won't be surprised if we see her rock them. But I feel like, so the Great Protector, right?
She's in charge of the 10 rings.
So,
dude, when she's
does the Great
just
Protector have a connection to their family specifically? Or?
No, I think they have. No, I think it's a connection to Tao Lao in general.
Okay.
What was the question?
The Great Protector, because she was riding the Great Protector just like
it's just Tao Lao.
Yeah, I think it's just them in general.
But they're the only ones badass enough to hop on top of it.
Well, we don't know if someone else has previously ridden it. We don't know what happened previously. So, but speaking of the Great Protector, incredible design, by the way.
Yeah,
incredible.
And I just want to like middle finger everyone that was like, "That's Fing Fang Foom, they're tricking." I'm like, it is not.
It's not.
Like,
it's not.
It
no,
wasn't even close.
No,
and the only thing that was similar was that they were dragon-ish. And I'm just like, So when that happened, I was just like, thank you.
Well, like the way like Americans visualize dragons is like Game of Thrones, but like the Chinese mythology of dragons is more like that design, kind of like how they are in Raya and the Last Dragon too. So it was more consistent with that. But I thought that was so cool. A lot of people are complaining about the dragons fighting at the end and all that. I loved it, dude. He puts the rings inside the thing and rips them out and blows them up.
So first of all, thank you for bringing that up real quick. I want to bring up a tweet that I think doesn't get enough credit. And this is from Ace Cabrera.
Okay.
And I want to bring this up real quick. And he said, I've seen a lot of Shang-Chi third act CGI criticism. I get it. The MCU formula feels present, but the same as the other MCU movie take is off. Everything CG felt intentional. It was enriched with Chinese mythology. The cultural references made it stand out from any other MCU film. Speaking of the dragons and the soul suckers and everything going on at the end of the film.
It had purpose.
Exactly.
It needed to be there. It's not just to have a big monster battle at the end of the film. That's what Chinese culture is. That is exactly what Chinese culture is. We've seen it in so many Chinese films in the past that deal with this culture and this mythology, and they're blending it with the MCU. Like, I'm sorry if you don't like when the MCU movies end in a big CGI fight. I get it, but this moved the story forward. It was completely necessary. We weren't going to ever get a Shang-Chi versus Wenwu fight. That's not what it was going to be.
Well, even if they're fighting with the rings and with the Tao Lao powers or whatever. And what did we want? Did we want Shang-Chi fighting a bunch of soldiers, like hand-to-hand combat? We've seen that before in other movies. Like to see him floating in the air and then he throws the rings at the soul sucker, it was so badass.
The smartest moves was to make those rings not finger rings.
Yes.
Are they supposed to be in the comics? Yeah.
In the comics, they're literally just
they're so
rings.
cool, and like you can hear them like jingling.
Yes.
I loved when that moment where he took the rings away from him, when he had all 10 of them, not just 5, but all 10, and you saw the colors shift, and then the way that he was controlling them, where it was different from his father, that they were floating around him, and like the style was different between the two of them because one was obviously.
Did you hear the theory of it? Why they're different colors?
That's what I was wondering.
So the theory people are going around is that Wenwu wasn't fully worthy of the rings, and that's why they were dark.
That makes sense.
But Shang-Chi is worthy of the rings. And
I mean, Wenwu looked worthy as hell. I mean, he was wrecking havoc for 1,000 years.
Yeah. I mean, you can be not worthy of something and still cause mayhem. But
I mean, not technically, because you can't pick up the hammer.
Well, I think that's I could see that, Brian, because it seemed like it seemed like Shang-Chi like was able to use them quicker and like just more powerful.
They responded to him. It seemed
I
like.
feel
well,
like
and he was using his mother's powers. The way that his mother and his aunt were.
Part of it too.
That's one of the best parts, and it was so simple. was when he was like this and the mother went.
Yes,
Mhm.
when the ant moved his hand.
Yeah,
Or was
or
the
the
mother?
aunt. Excuse me.
It was the aunt.
It was the
It was
aunt,
the
right?
aunt.
It was Michelle
Yeah.
Yeoh when they were fighting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The only thing she did in the entire thing was just
Yes.
go. And
Just
from there on
open-
out,
It was like
So
chills.
dope.
I have chills like because it's just so simple. Like, but it speaks volumes. He was fighting an aggressive
Mhm.
attack, and she was like, "No, your mom bested your dad by just
defense.
defense and relaxation.
He's a
And
Jedi.
not-
I want to see him
Sure.
with a freaking lightsaber. So
Dude,
bad.
Ooh.
he
I
would
want to
be
see.
good
I want to
one.
see Simu Liu with a lightsaber so bad.
He would be amazing in Star Wars.
That'd be great.
But-
All right. So I did want to say though the way that he was fighting was very interesting, and I love the fact that when we saw his mother and father fighting in their scene in the beginning, they mirrored the same exact shots when he and his father were fighting towards the end of the film. Like when Shang-Chi had him in the lock and they were looking back at each other, and like everything was so parallel of what was happening previously. It was just so like it felt magical. It felt like wondrous and beautiful, and like the choreograph was just so great, and it played to that mythology and the culture so well. And it's such a beautiful movie. It's so beautiful.
honestly, like, and I know people are saying it. DC said it with Iron Fist has a close connection. Honestly, if they redo Iron Fist and have this type of stuff going with it, oh my god!
I think that you will see the MCU version of Iron Fist pop up in
They
the
have to.
franchise.
They absolutely have to because they have a perfect pathway to a great martial arts type thing now, and like, why not take advantage of it?
100%.
Like, don't it doesn't need to be right now because you've got this amazing like presence of Shang-Chi, but if you plan to do it in the future, this is the route you take. So, and I know you wanted to talk about the end credits too. So,
Well, the mid credits is the one that I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
The end credits is the one we saw where the sister is now in charge. Shang-Chi said he goes, yeah, she's back cleaning up. No,
They said they're
she's
like
taking
shutting
over.
them down. Yeah.
She's taken over the 10 rings,
She
which
was
is something we can talk about. And the movie ended with the 10 rings will return. But let's talk about the mid-credit scene because the mid-credit scene was the most important one. So we saw Shang-Chi and Katie back in San Francisco with their friends at dinner, and they were just like bawling out, talking about all this crazy stuff at dinner. And then all of a sudden,
believes them.
all of a sudden, Wong pops up in his mystical little portal, and he's like, Shang-Chi here. And they're just sitting at a little square 4-chair table in a restaurant. And then he goes, yeah, Katie, you come too. So they walk in, they're with Wong, and then we see Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers via a hologram also in the room, trying to find out what the hell the 10 rings are, what they are made of, what their origin is, and what we know of them so far is that they are neither Earth nor alien. Of what Carol Danvers knows anyway. She doesn't know of anything that she's seen it before in all her travels. Bruce Banner is the guy to go to when it comes to Earth metals. He has never seen it before. He mentioned vibranium. They're not vibranium. And not only that, but Wong says that they're essentially a beacon and they're calling out. Now, what in the world does that mean? We have no idea. It's being left wide open right now for just our imagination to run wild. But clearly, this isn't only setting up future Shang-Chi stuff, whether it's a sequel or appearances in other movies, but we can talk about the fact that this kind of catapulted him into a role in the Avengers.
Didn't she welcome him damn near?
I think he's I think Wong said something along the lines like what
Bruce
Nick
Banner
Fury said.
says, "Welcome to the circus."
Yeah, welcome to the circus. There you go. Yeah, it was Bruce Banner, and very similar to what Nick Fury had said to Tony Stark initially in the beginning too. But we weren't sure his inclusion and everything, right? Kind of how he fit into everything. This is now how it works. So essentially, what the Avengers is doing is they're keeping track of everything around the globe, of what is like interfering with power or some kind of artifacts or whatever. And this kind of lit up a beacon in their mind, and they want to know. And now Shang-Chi is now. And the interesting part is Wong said to Katie, you're kind of included in this too.
I was wondering about that. That's
So what
interesting.
does that mean?
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
I
He
mean,
must
the
know
big-
how important she is to him, or like she kind of keeps him grounded. I don't know.
That was what I was going to say. That was probably the most important thing coming out of that scene.
And then his arm is still in a sling, so his arm is
In human
pretty
form,
much-
yeah.
He's out of contention for a little bit as fighting, I imagine. So
I think he's permanently probably going to be like that.
Yeah.
And that's how he's just kind of
He's just Bruce Banner in the MCU.
pretty much.
I mean, I
And
think
then
it's possible.
I think that's going to be what passes the torch to She-Hulk.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think it's also very smart because they can save the budget on the She-Hulk show and not have to put him in Hulk uniform, and can
No,
save
that
it
makes
for her.
sense. That
So
makes
it's probably a
sense.
logistical move too. But anyway, how does he get out of Professor Hulk? I would love to see how that happens. First of all,
Yeah.
2, Carol Danvers. She's got
There
her
has
longer
to be a
hair, which
reason to it,
means
at least.
so she has her longer hair, which means it's been a long time after Endgame because she had very short hair in Endgame. And 3, he is now thrusted into the larger MCU.
Yeah, he's so formidable because, all right, before I saw this movie and before I learned a little bit about the 10 rings leading up to it, I thought Shang-Chi was only just hand-to-hand combat, martial arts, no superpowers. That's what I thought. But because they used to call him like the master of kung fu in the comics, I didn't know we were getting like super powered, like to extreme level Shang-Chi. So now like him fully powered, and he just got the rings, and so what is he capable of beyond what we already saw? It could be crazy, and so I'm excited for that. But what I'm basically saying is like he's up there. Like we know Doctor Strange is powerful, Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, but he's up there, man, as far as power rankings go.
Well, especially because he's basically got a bulletproof uniform,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like dragon scale
Dude.
armor, bro.
the dragon
Yeah.
scale armors
so
were
cool.
dope.
Uh,
I was gonna wonder though, regarding that, can he use his mom's powers outside of Talo? I don't think he can.
No,
I'm not sure though.
Well, remember his mother had to give her powers up,
Yeah, so I think he can
But-
only use them
but
there,
he
but
had-
who knows?
but he has the 10 rings. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He still has
No,
that
of
ability.
course, yeah. But combined, he was even more powerful.
Yes,
Yeah.
unless he's like quote unquote the chosen one, but I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, something like that. We'll find out
real
later.
quick comment from DC, which is interesting. I may have a clue about the rings. The beacon might be signaling one of the 7 cities in heaven. That's
Ooh.
Iron Fist mythology.
Oh.
And if they are heavily connected, which I didn't know there were 7 cities in heaven, like I had no idea. DC, dude, give us some info, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds incredibly, crazily interesting. Like 7 cities.
Yeah,
in
it
heaven?
does.
Holy crap!
Because they're going they're going further and further and deeper.
Wait, DC. So does that mean that
mythology,
the city or the like Iron Fist's home in the show was that one of the cities of heaven?
Not
What's the name
Tao.
of the
Literally.
city that?
Not
look
Kung,
up.
I always mix these up.
Kung Lao? Kung Lao.
Kung Lao. That's it.
Is Kung Lao a
Yeah.
city of heaven? Answer that for us while we move on. I'm
Kung
interested.
Lao. I always want to say Kamertosh, and I know that's wrong. And it's Kung Lao. That's it.
That would be incredibly interesting. But yeah, I mean, look, there's obviously possibilities for Shang-Chi to appear with a lot of stuff coming out. Is there a chance we get him in Doctor Strange too?
I think everyone's going to be in that. I think that
So
might be.
basically, I took it as, them interacting with Wong, and then that whole post-credit scene, I was like, I think he might be involved.
I think they're gonna kick it there with Wong because
I
they're obviously
really-
doing karaoke together. Like,
I'm starting to think this is a Civil War-esque movie.
Oh,
where
I just for sure, yeah.
everyone's in it.
I think
Maybe
so.
not the Eternals.
well, I
just 'cause
think
there's so
it's
many
gonna
of them.
be so. Every phase has like that event film. Like, Captain America: The Winter Soldier was the one for phase 1 or phase 2. You had Thor Ragnarok for phase 3. Outside of the Avengers movie is what I'm talking about. Civil War was one of them as well. I think Doc 2 is probably going to be the event film of this phase.
It's like the Civil
it
War,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Like
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
it's literally gonna be madness, everybody.
The
Madness.
fact that Sam Raimi's in charge of it is just like, where could this go? I think the thing, honestly, that I loved the most about this movie is just, I've said it already a bunch of times, the cast was absolutely phenomenal and
Uh-huh.
perfect. Perfect. Every single person was, like, you found yourself. They played their part perfectly, and
That's kind of big.
yeah,
I was wondering about that.
I just think that they were used perfectly too. You never got too much of one. Like, one of my biggest fears was that Aquafina would be used too much and take away from this movie. She was used perfectly. I almost threw a fit when thinking that she was going to be the one that takes out the soul sucker.
She almost did. Basically was.
She basically stunned it for him to do it. So it was a team thing. I was like, this guy needs to be the forefront of this movie. Like, if he's going to be something in the future, he needs to be the forefront of this movie. All of the characters were used just like they went right up to that point of being too much, and they hit it perfectly. Like Trevor Slattery, if I would have gotten much more of him, I would have been like, okay, like, stop shoving him down our face. And then,
Morris. Morris.
Dude, I know we said it earlier, like him playing dead, like, perfect.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Morris, stop! It's a performance.
But even all the scenes that Trevor was in were not useless. They were all important because they wouldn't have got there without him. So
exactly,
it was all relevant to the story. Yeah,
and that's, I think, the thing that worked really, really well for me is the fact that Shang-Chi was the main character, but the rest were truly supporting characters. Like, they helped you enjoy him better without overdoing that person too much. You got, like,
I agree,
the right amount from each one. And I think that was one thing that made me love this movie that much more. And I cannot wait to see how the sister is used moving forward, because she's a freaking boss. And literally.
Rachel, thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. The backstory of how he got into acting, the apes were riding horses. That's acting.
He thought that there was really apes talking in the movie. It was crazy.
All right. Well, any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we wrap up? We've been going for nearly an hour talking Shang-Chi here. I know that we can talk a little bit about probably his sister, but we have not heard from Keith or Gio on this, so I'm sure it'll come back up on the channel.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, there's one thing I just wanted to mention really quick is I appreciate what they did with him, that he actually did kill the guy who killed his mother, because to me,
same. Good call.
It made me appreciate the character more, because he's very flawed. Like, he didn't have a choice, really. He was a kid. His dad started training him. What choice did he have, right? But then he went and look, we got to remember, this is still Disney, right? When it comes down to it. And they allowed our hero to be a guy who killed his mother's killer for vengeance. But then he obviously realized maybe it wasn't the right thing to do. And that's when he ran away. But that moment when he tells Katie about that, that elevated the character and the movie for me. So I just wanted to mention that because we didn't talk about it.
Every single thing had a purpose in this movie. There was nothing that just was there.
I was thinking about that, and like, literally, there's not a wasted scene.
No.
In the movie.
No. And everything, it's not a short movie either. It's not an hour and a half type movie.
It's solid, man. It's so solid.
Jacob, you want to know something funny? Do you know who the voice of Morris was? The little thing?
I heard somebody talking about this, but I don't know exactly who.
It was D. Bradley Baker, the guy that voices all the Star Wars clones. And
wow.
They literally hired him to just go like,
hey, Disney family, right? Did he do them for the
absolutely
recent seasons? Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is one of, they did this so right. And it's cool to know that, like, they can grab obscure characters and make them. I mean, the kids at work week ago, they didn't know who the hell Shang-Chi was. Now some of them are like, he's the coolest superhero since, like, Captain America. Like, they're obsessed with it. And it's, I mean, representation too. I mean, does not.
Well, it's a big deal. It's a big cultural impact for a lot of people who haven't had this, option for a long time. And we've seen martial arts films, but not on the stage of Marvel, DC, etc. Right? There hasn't been something like this where there's been a film focused on their mythology and their culture when it comes to superheroes. And superheroes is the craze, and it has been for a very long time, and it will continue to be the craze for a very long time. And so I think it's a great move in time for Marvel to do this movie. And I think it was also an incredibly great move for them to not do the premiere access, because everyone needs to go support this film on the big screen.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to go support this film on the big screen. If you are like catching this at a random time or something and you have not seen Shang-Chi, or like maybe you've only seen it once, or you want to take someone else who hasn't seen it, go support this movie. I know it already broke the Labor Day records, but go support this movie. So I'm going to go see it again. I didn't get a chance this weekend, but I'm absolutely going to go see it again. And I'm so happy that it's getting this. I'm so happy it's getting the support that it's getting, because it deserves every success that is coming its way.
Absolutely. Sure. And tell your friends and family to go see it in theaters, because every chance I get, I'm telling you have to go watch this in the theaters. Like, it's such a great experience.
Jacob, can you imagine if the people that made this, if Disney got a hold of Mortal Kombat? Can you imagine if Mortal Kombat got in these people's hands?
I've accepted I'll never get a good Mortal Kombat movie. That's okay.
All right, everyone. Well, we're going to wrap up tonight on Apocaflix Now with our Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings talk. Again, Keith was not here. He has seen it, but he was not able to make it tonight. And then Gio is going to be watching it sometime this week, hopefully. And so Shang-Chi will definitely be coming back up on the channel. We may do a ranking. We may talk a little bit more about its inclusion inside the MCU. But for now, there's our full spoiler discussion on the film. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. That was a blast. Nearly an hour to talk about this. And glad to have all of you here. We had 8 viewers basically the entire time, and we really appreciate it. To John, Sarju, Pardis, DC, Rachel, Johnny, saw you popping in there as well. A couple of others who are in there popping in and out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Gio, a little bit earlier on in the show. Go watch it, dude. Go watch the movie. Before we get out of here, let's do some quick plugs for the other channels and other shows. Brian, I'll let you kick it off. Where can everyone find you online, my man?
So when I'm not here, Jake and I are doing A Certain Point of View, which if you're into movie trivia and basically it becoming a sport, you can find us over on A Certain Point of View on YouTube. We are there pretty much every Wednesday and Thursday. So yeah, come check us out over there.
And Mr. Bartley?
Yeah, so just for like thoughts on movie and television and stuff, you can find me at Jacob Bartley 824 on Twitter. I also have another YouTube channel called First Round Fantasy, as most of you may know, and thank you for that badass logo, Jake. Football season is starting this week, so we're going to be talking tomorrow night. We'll be talking week 1 for fantasy football, so come check us out if you play.
And then, of course, here on Apocaflix, Now isn't the only running show at the moment. We also do our What If reviews each week. And Rachel, I apologize, Rachel, that they're a different day, different time each week. But Marvel Rewind, each week, everybody, we review the Marvel Disney Plus events, the series and movies, if there ever is a movie. But we are covering What If this week, or every week, excuse me. And this week is Zombies.
Yeah,
we are doing Zombies this week, and
wait, I can't.
Make sure you check it out. It's aired at a different time, different day each week, because we've really played into the what if the show airs different. But we'll be covering it on either Thursday or Friday. If you guys click that subscribe button, you'll be notified when we go live. You follow us on Twitter at Apocaflix Movies. You'll see all of our postings. Putting the links and everything out there. And then, of course, for myself, at Qui-Gon Jake, 2 N's, because someone else took it before I did. I also do a little show called The Whiskey Jedi, where I talk Star Wars and properties that I love, and review and talk whiskey as well. And I have some guests on there. I got a guest on my next episode, which is coming up as well. Jacob, you also forgot to plug something else of yours and Keith's.
Yes, so since Keith isn't here, him and I do a monthly show called Bartley and Barnes, where we talk more about movies, if you can't get enough here. We talk about television, pop culture, music. We're trying to find a day. We're supposed to do it yesterday. I fell under the weather, but just stay posted. We'll have one up there soon.
So again, to everyone watching, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Have a great night, and we will catch you guys later. Bye, guys.